Hotel Swan Hall. My name is Nuren Abedin, and I'm honored to serve as the master of the ceremony today.
Konnichiwa. I'm the Ulaanbaatar, a member of Alumni KYUDAI Mongolia. So thank you very much for joining us on this weekday afternoon. Today's program will highlight the research, education, and partnerships of Kyushu University and deepen our connections with colleagues and friends in Mongolia.
Today's KYUDAI Now program is structured in two parts. From 2 to 6 p.m., we will hold a symposium highlighting current research and activities at Kyushu University. Later, from 6:30 to 8:30, we will host a dinner reception aimed at fostering interdisciplinary dialogue and further strengthening our bond between Kyushu University and our friends and colleagues in Mongolia.
Now, as the first part of the opening session, it is my great honor to invite Professor Iwata Kenji, Senior Vice President of Kyushu University, to deliver welcome remarks to all the participants today. Professor Iwata, may we please have your presence on the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kenji Iwata. I serve as the Executive Vice President of Kyushu University. On behalf of the organizers, it is my pleasure to offer a few words as we begin KYUDAI Now here in Mongolia. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. We are especially honored by the presence of distinguished guests, including Her High Excellency Dr. Bayarma Nyamdo, Justice of Supreme Court of Mongolia, and Mr. Igawahara Masaru from the Embassy of Japan in Mongolia. Thank you very much. As well as many esteemed participants from Japan and around the world. KYUDAI Now has launched to strengthen our international alumni network and to promote interdisciplinary research and educational collaboration with local universities, government institutions, industry, and communities abroad. So far, we have brought KYUDAI Now to countries such as Indonesia, Australia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia. These events have helped showcase the latest research coming out of Kyushu University, while also deepening mutual understanding and building bridge between Japan and our partners across Asia and Oceania. It is our second time hosting KYUDAI Now in Mongolia. Following the establishment of our Alumni Association last year, we are delighted to return and reconnect with our alumni and colleagues in this vibrant country. This year is particularly special for Japan-Mongolian relations, highlighted by the historic visit of Their Majesties, the Emperor and the Empress in Japan to Mongolia. This important occasion has further solidified the friendship between our two nations. It is therefore a great honor for Kyushu University to host KYUDAI Now during such a memorable year. Currently, Kyushu University holds 2 university-level and 3 faculty-level exchange agreements with universities in Mongolia. We hope today's event will open new doors for further academic and student exchange in the years to come. Looking ahead, we are also planning to upcoming KYUDAI Now events in Tokyo in November, Taiwan and Korea in December, and India in next January, as we continue to expand our presence across Asia and Oceania. This initiative is led by the Kyushu University Institute for Asian Oceanian Studies, what we call Q-AOS, which I would like to briefly introduce. Established in 2019, Q-AOS promotes practical, interdisciplinary research and education that addresses processing social challenges in Asia and Oceania. It brings together a diverse group of faculty from the humanities, social sciences, life and natural sciences, engineering, and the arts, working both on-site and remotely. Today, we are pleased to have several faculty members share their recent research insights with us today. I do hope their presentations inspire thoughtful dialogue on how we can work together to solve social issues in line with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. In closing, I sincerely hope that KYUDAI Now in Mongolia will be a meaningful experience for you, all of you, fostering international exchange, sparking new collaborations, and strengthening our alumni community here in Mongolia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Iwata. Now, we are honored to welcome two esteemed guests who have graciously accepted our invitation today. First, please allow me to introduce our first guest, Her Excellency Dr. Nyamdo Bierma, who will share her opening remarks to KYUDAI Now in Mongolia. Dr. Bierma, may I please welcome you on the stage.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Distinguished guests, Your Excellency, Ambassador Igawahara Masaru, esteemed professors from Kyushu University, Professor Kenji Wata, Senior Vice President of Kyushu University, Professor Shuji Shimizu, Vice President of Kyushu University, Professor Minoru Takamaro, law schools, our dear professor, it's really nice to see you here again, who is Dean of the School of Law School. Other distinguished professors from Kyushu University, distinguished guests and friends. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the second KYUDAI Now in Ulaanbaatar forum. My name is Bierma, a proud graduate of Kyushu University. Now I'm currently serving as a Justice of the Supreme Court of Mongolia. I'm truly delighted to have this opportunity to deliver the opening remarks on such a distinguished occasion. The continuation of this forum, following its successful inauguration last year, is a testament to growing and deepening ties in academic exchange and cooperation, not only between Kyushu University, but also between Japan and Mongolia as a whole. I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the leadership and esteemed professors of Kyushu University, as well as to Mongolian Alumni Association for their invaluable efforts in making this event possible. Throughout the day, professors and researchers from Kyushu University will present on a wide range of topics, including recent research, achievements, and collaborations in the field of law. In particular, I see immense potential for cooperation in areas such as commercial law, civil procedural law reform, and judicial training, capacity building programs. Such collaborations would not only enhance legal scholarship, but also contribute meaningfully to strengthening rule of law and supporting ongoing legal reforms in Mongolia. I'm confident that discussions among scholars and students and practitioners gathered here will pave the way for future partnerships and joint research endeavors. In closing, I wish to once again extend my deepest appreciation to all our distinguished guests and participants for being part of this important event. I firmly believe that this forum will prove to be a resounding success and will further strengthen the academic and cultural bonds between Mongolia and Japan. Thank you so much for the attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bayarama, for the warm welcome message to all of us. Now it's with great honor that I invite His Excellency, Mr. Igawahara Masaru, the Ambassador of Japan to Mongolia, to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Igawahara, may we please have you on the stage. Mr. Igawahara will deliver his speech in Japanese.
Okay.
Yes, and he will translate. Yes.
皆さんこんにちは。九州大学の先生方、ゲストの皆様、そして、日本、モンゴル両国の皆様、こんにちは。本日は、昨年に引き続いての第2回目となるKYUDAIナーの開催、誠におめでとうございます。日本、モンゴル両国間の人的交流活動、そして学術交流の活性化を目的として、このような素晴らしい、そして貴重な機会を設けていただいたこと、心から感謝しますとともにお招きいただき、光栄によっておりしたいです。
Тавханд энэ өдрийн мэндийг хүргье. Өнөөдөр KYUDAI форумыг Монгол 2 дахь удаага зохион байгуулагдаж байгаа 10 баяр хүргье. Япон Монгол 2 улсын эрхийг форум энэ болон эрдэнэ шинжилгээний харилцааг идэвхтэй өнрүүлэх зорилго бүхий энэхүү чухал үеэр ядарч оролцсонд баяртай байна.
先ほどのお話もございましたけど、また皆様もご存知の通り、今年7月、天皇皇后両陛下がモンゴルを訪問されました。両国関係の新しいページが開かれました。温かく迎えていただきました、モンゴルの皆様には、この場をお借りして、改めてお礼を申し上げます。本当にありがとうございました。両陛下は、モンゴルにおいて、日本人の死亡者慰霊碑に供花、そして慰霊をされたほか、モンゴルの豊かな歴史、文化、大自然を、体験されました。そして日本の支援、協力が実施された学校、病院などなどの施設をご視察されました。両陛下は帰国された後もですね、ご感想の中で若い世代の人々が今後もお互いの国に対する関心を深め、両国の相互理解、そして友好親善に大きな役割を果たしていかれることを期待しますとおっしゃっていただきました。若い学生、研究者、さらには産官学の枠を超えた幅広い交流を通じて、日本とモンゴルがアジア、そしてさらには世界において平和と繁栄のために特別な戦略的パートナーとしての関係を深めつつ、共に 発展していけるよう、九州大学の関係者の皆様、そしてここにご在籍の皆様のご協力を心からお願い申し上げます。
Та бүхэн мэдэж байгаараа энэ 4 дугаар сард Японы улсын цог захиргаанд эзэн хаан эрхэм дээд хадан нар Монгол улсад ажиллахын хоёр улсын харьцааны шинэ хуудас нээсэнтэй. Харин дотноор хүрээ авсан Монголч улс таахынд энэхүү завшааныг ашиглан тархаснаа илэрхийлмээр байна. Баярлалаа. Цог захиргаанд эзэн хаан эрхэм дээд хадан нар Японы иргэдийн дурсгалын зөвцөлбөрт цэцэг өргөн хүндэтгэл үзүүлж Монголын баяраг түүх зориг байгалийн үсгэлийн газартай танилцсан Японы улсын дэмжлэг хамтын ажиллагаа хэрэгжүүлсэн сургууль энерги зэрэг орон байгуулахаар зуршилсан гээ. Тэрээр ажлын дараах сэтгэлгээдтэй залуу хойж үеийнхэн харьцан бие биегээ орос улсны тараар сүмшгэл үзүүлж гүнзгийрүүлж хоёр улсны харьцан ойр болцол найрамдах харьцаа Томукан үйл гүйцэтгэнэ хэмээн найдаж байна. Хэмээн дурдсан юм. Тиймээс заруу оюутан судалгаачид төр бүгийн хэвшил судалгаа шинжилгээний байгууллагуудын хооронд улмаар ирүү өргөн хүрээнд харьцаа сурцуу өрнүүлэх замаар Япон Монгол хоёр улсын Аз цаашдаа дэлхийн энх тайван хөгжиж цэцэгчийн төрөх тусгай стратегийн түншлэгтэй гүнзгийрүүлж хамтдаа өргөжлөн хөгжиж үрсэнд Kyushuгийн их сургуулийн баг шилжүүлэлтэн холбогдох хүмүүс та бүхнээс хамтран ажиллахыг хүсэж байна.
最後になりますが、本日のフォーラムのご成功、そして皆様のますますのご活躍、ご健勝をお祈りして簡単ですけど、私からの挨拶をさせていただきます。ありがとうございました。
Ингээд өнөөдрийн форум амжилттай болохыг мөн энд хүрсэн ирсэн та бүхэнд өрөөрэй ажлын өндөр амжилт хүсэж өрөөё. Баярлалаа.
Thank you so much, Mr. Igawahara. So next, we would like to move to the next part. Dr. Kunshan, Associate Professor and Coordinator of Kyushu University, Institute for Asian and Oceanian Studies, will give a brief presentation to introduce Kyushu University. Dr. Shan, may we please have the stage, please.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chen Kun from Kyushu University Institute for Asian and Oceanian Studies. I will briefly introduce Kyushu University. As I know, many of you actually are the alumni of Kyushu University, so you know a lot about this university. But there are some new updates, so let me briefly introduce. So, we are from Fukuoka, and this is the map of Japan. And this is the Kyushu Hanen, and the city Fukuoka is over there. And actually, the typical flight from Fukuoka to Ulaanbaatar is first we will take 1 hour flight to Incheon, and from Incheon takes 3 hours flight to Ulaanbaatar. And this is a night view of Fukuoka city, actually the full moon at night. And actually, Kyushu, Fukuoka Prefecture, Fukuoka is both a name for the prefecture and also for the city. So there are several major cities in Fukuoka Prefecture, like the Kyushu city to the north, and like Gurumei city to the south. And beside our Fukuoka city, there's Itoshima city. So actually, there's a lot of very beautiful natural and cultural scenic spots in this prefecture. Like just very close to our campus, there's the Itoshima city, very beautiful seaside over there, and the night view of Kyushu city is very wonderful. And Gurumei is like gourmet city, and very famous for its yakitori and ramen. And the Fukuoka city, not the prefecture, but the city, because it's quite a major city in Japan, 6th largest city in Japan, and because it's most like southern city, most close to the Asian continent. So we could consider the city as a gateway city to Asia. And as you can see, we have sea, mountain, lakes, and very beautiful city view here. And actually, for most of the Japanese city, as you know, there are some very big issue of population decline. But very luckily, Fukuoka city, the population is increasing, especially the young generation, young people, they're like increasing. And because this is very beautiful and very, beloved city in Japan, so a lot of Japanese people even like to live in the city. And our university is Kyushu University is one of the 7 former empowering universities, and it's established more than 110 years ago. And we have almost have like 20,000 students and more than 2,000 faculty staffs, and we have a very big campus, big like this. So if we calculate with the soccer field, actually our campus is equals to more than 400 soccer fields. And this is the biggest campus, biggest single campus in Japan. And maybe most, including me, a lot of alumni members studied in Hakozaki, and now our new campus is like this. It's very beautiful. And from here is Faculty of Agriculture, Faculty of Engineering, Faculty of Science, and this area is like the humanities and social science. And actually, this campus was combined from the other like 3 old campus. And the old campus is like this. I think the people studying in Hakozaki campus should remember this view. And but besides this Ito campus, we still have 3 other campuses, like the hospital campus in Maedashi, and Ohashi campus with the Faculty of Design, and Chikushi campus. And the ranking is like changing every year, but in Japan, like almost range from 4th to 8th best universities in Japan. And from this like 20,000 students, 10%, more than 10% of them are international students. And actually for Mongolian, by now 180 students has been learned in Mongolian. This means alumni member maybe more than almost 2,000 students has been studying in Kyushu University. And actually now there are 20 Mongolian students now studying in Kyushu University, and also 7 Japanese students now studying Mongolian. And yes, I will just skip this. And I just want to show we have very good collaboration with Mongolian universities, as our senior vice president said. In the university level, we have 2 MOU with Mongolian University of Science and Technology and Mongolian National University of Medical Sciences, which established, the MOU was established last year. And for our institute is here. We call this Q-AOS, and with these 3 main visions established several years before. And for our activities, I just want to introduce first, there is a Ulaanbaatar seminar. This is an online seminar, totally free. So even you are in Ulaanbaatar, every Wednesday in the lunchtime, you can join this seminar. So the Ulaanbaatar time maybe a little bit earlier from the lunch, but every week we will change the topic. We invite different professors from Kyushu University to give the speech. So it's very easy for you to join. And we have Asia Week every year in the November. So this November we also have this Asia Week. And also KYUDAI now. Actually, this is last year, also in Ulaanbaatar. A lot of our friends here also came last year. And actually from this KYUDAI now Mongolia last year, we have a serious Mongolia KYUDAI now in different countries. For example, after the Ulaanbaatar one, in October, we did this in Cairo, in Egypt. And this year, in February, we did the first KYUDAI now in Singapore. And our second KYUDAI now in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. And just last month, we did our second or third KYUDAI now in Malaysia. It's in Johor Bahru, very close to Singapore. And today we are here for the second KYUDAI now in Ulaanbaatar. Thank you for coming, and let's keep connecting with our university. Thank you.
So let me start the first session. so the research symposium. This session was entitled Love, Food and Health. We are pleased to have 4 distinguished professors from Kyushu University who will introduce their research and activities related to these keywords. First, I'm glad to introduce Professor Tokumoto Minoru to give the first presentation titled The Features of Commercial Law in Japan. Professor Tokumoto Minoru is Dean Professor and Kyushu University Faculty of Law. His major is law, especially commercial law, corporate law, and business laws. He has been working with many Mongolian friends for more than 10 years, especially with the Friends of National University of Mongolia, Ministry of Justice and Internal Affairs of Mongolia, and Ministry of Justice of Japan. He said that he had the chance to work together for the enactment of new commercial code of Mongolia. Today, Professor Tokumoto will deliver his presentation in Japanese, and his former PhD student, Dr. Sanger Bakbayer, a senior lecturer at School of Law, National University of Mongolia, will represent his speech to Mongolia. Please on the stage.
皆様方、ただいまご紹介に預かりました九州大学大学院法学研究員の徳本実と申します。
자, 다음 분들이 인터뷰에 새로운 텍스트 Kyushu 소고대 벤슨 소고대徳本実だな。
本日の私のお話でございますが、ただいまご紹介に預かりましたように、本日は会場に、このモンゴルの方と日本の方がおられまして、ちょうどモンゴル国立大学法学部上級講師で九州大学大学院法学部の私の研究室の方におられましたバトバヤル先生がおられますことから、本日は日本語でお話をさせていただきまして、それをバトバヤル先生の方からモンゴル語に通訳をしていただきます形にてお話をさせていただければと思います。
자, 미니 오늘의 예습 모델 스타일을 같은데 미니 헬스처럼 오늘의 얘기는 대금 디디금 예쁜 것은 몽골 хүмүүс 좋습니다. учраас 우리 얘기가 япон хэлээр яаж бодож байна. За, өнөөдөр миний ярианы орчуулгыг манай шив Монгол Улсын сургуулийн зөвлөгөөний ахлагч доктор Батбаяр орчуулсан та бүхэнд хүргэх болно.
私の方では、これまで、縁がございまして、モンゴル国立大学法学部、モンゴル国法務内務省、そしてモンゴル国最高裁判所、日本の法務省などとご協力をさせていただきながら、過去10年以上にわたりまして、モンゴル国におけます法制度整備支援、特に商法転案の基礎支援に関わらせていただいてまいりました。
자, миний хувьд бол хувьцааны тохиолдолд өөрийгөө ганцтай гэж үздэг. Учир нь Монгол Улсын их сургууль, Монгол Улсын хууль дотоод хэргийн яам, Монгол Улсын дийчүүх, Япон Улсын хууль зүйн яамны хамтран хэрэгжүүлж байгаа Монгол Улс барилжааны хэцүү хөгжүүлэх гэсэн эргэцэн шимтгэлийн дэмжлэг ажил сүүлийн 10 гаруй жилийн турш хамтран ажиллах боломжтой болсон юм а.
そこで本日はモンゴル国におけます商法転案の立法会の支援ということに関しまして、民法と商法の関係、言い換えますと商法の地位や特徴ということにつきまして日本の法制度を参考にしながらお話をさせていただければと思います。
자, 오늘 миний ярианы гол агуулга нь Монгол Улс барилжааны хууль тогтоомжийн төслийг боловсруулах буюу эргэцэн шимтгэлийн дэмжлэгийн хүрээнд Монгол Улс барилжааны хэцүү ямар ч тавиа үүнтэй холбоотойгоор иргэний хэрэгцээ бол арилжааны хэрэгцээ салбар хоорондын хамаарлал нь ямар онцлогтой байдаг вэ? Улмаар арилжааны хэрэгцээ онолын хувьд баримтлах байр суурь гэж юу вэ гэдэг талаар та бүхэнд Японы хууль тогтоомжийн хэрэгцээ системчлэлийг үндэслэн танилцуулах болно.
そして、お話に先立ちまして、本年もQ-AOSナウがこの地ウランバートルにて開催される運びとなりました。このような栄えある会にて講演をさせていただきます機会を賜りまして、大変光栄に存じております。
За ярианыхаа ихэнд энэхүү Q-AOS на форум энэ жил Улаанбаатар хотод дахин зохион байгуулагдаж байгаа. Энэхүү нэр хүндтэй форумд миний хувьд бас өөрийнхөө чухал яриагаа хийх болсондоо туйлын их нэртний хэрэг гэж хүлээж авч байна.
バイアルマ最高裁判事、井川原大使をはじめ、岩田理事、清水副理事、諸先生方、卒業生の皆様方など、九州大学、そしてモンゴルのご関係の皆様方に対しまして、心から厚く御礼を申し上げます。
За ялангуяа Монгол Улсын дэвшүүлгийн шүгч баярмаа Игахавар ачин сайд за Шимизу болон Ивата эдгэрхийлэгч болон Kyushu их сургуулийн профессор энэ төрөлцөө гэсэн та бүхэн чистэглийн тодорхой төвшүүлж байна.
さて、それではお話に入らせていただきたいと思います。
За ингээд үндсэн итгэлийнхээ агуулгаар орё.
日本におきましては司法、すなわち私法におけますまず一般法としまして、民法という法域が存在しております。
За Японы улсын хувьд эрхцэн тогтолцооны хувьд иргэдийн өдөр тутмын амьдрал болон эдийн засгийн суурь харилцааг зохицуулдаг хувийн эрхцэн суурь хууль нь иргэний эрхцүү гэсэн салбараар бичдэг байна.
そこにはいわゆる民法典をはじめとして多くの関連する法律が見られます。
За энэхүү иргэний эрхцэн салбарт бол иргэний хууль тогтоомжоос зохицуулдаг олон тооны бус хууль тогтоомжуудыг хамааруулж байна.
そしてこの点につきましては国によりましては例えばモンゴル国のようにこれまで民法典といわゆる商法典と特に区別せずに民法と商法と同一の法典の中で規定している国も存在しておりますが、日本におきましては民法典とは別に商法典が存在し、民法とは別に商法という法域が存在しておりまして、そこには会社法や商業登記法などの多くの関連する法律が存在しております。
За өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол Японы улсын хувьд иргэний эрхцүүгээс боловсрол эрхцүү түүнээс тусгайлан арилжааны эрхцүү гэсэн бие даасан салбарын эрхцүү ялгамжтайгаар авч үздэг байна. Гэхдээ энэ бол улс орон болгонд ажил байдаггүй. Тухайлбал нь Монгол улсын хувьд жишээлх юм бол иргэний эрхцүү болон арилжааны эрхцүүг тусгайлан хооронд нь ялгаж авч үзэхгүйгээр иргэний хуулинд арилжааны хууль тогтоомжийн зохицуулалтыг оруулах замаар нэгтгэсэн нэг кодексыг зохицуулах ийм чиг хандлагатай байна. Үүнээс нэг Японы улсын хувьд бол иргэний эрхцэн суурь хууль нь иргэний хууль, арилжааны эрхцэн суурь хууль нь арилжааны хууль болон түүнд хамаарах компани тухай хууль, үйл ажиллагааны бүртгэлийн тухай хууль гэх мэт олон тооны хуулиудыг багтаан ойлгодог тус тусын салбарын эрхцүү гэж авч үздэг байна.
それでは日本におきましてはこのように民法典とは別に商法典が存在し、民法とは別に商法という法域が存在しておりますが、日本におきましてはなぜどうしてそのような法体系となっているのか、言い換えますと日本におけます商法の地位や特徴というものはどのようなものなのか、この点につきましてお話をしていきたいと思います。
Өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол Японы улсын хувьд иргэний эрхцүүгээс тусдаа арилжааны эрхцүү гэдэг бие даасан эрхцүү байна. Түүнээс гадна иргэний хуулиас тусдаа бизнесийн харилцааг зохицуулдаг арилжааны хууль гэсэн тусдаа хууль тогтоомжтой байна. Өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол үүнийг юу гэж хэлэх вэ гэхээр иргэний хууль буюу иргэний эрхцүүтэй арилжааны эрхцүү ямар хамааралтай байх юм? Арилжааны эрхцүүх нь өөрийнх нь мөн чанар онцлог гэж юу вэ гэдэг талаар одоо та бүхэнд дэлгэрүүлэн хэлцүүлье.
まず日本の法体系におきましては広く市民生活や経済生活一般を規律する司法、私法として民法があり、これに対しまして企業生活の関係に特有な司法、私法の総体として商法があると考えられております。
За өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол эрхцэн системчлэлийн хувьд иргэдийн өдөр тутмын амьдрал болон эдийн засгийн суурь харилцааг зохицуулдаг гол хувийн эрхцэн суурь эрхцүү нь бол иргэний эрхцүү буюу иргэний хууль. Яг түүнтэй эсрэгцээ бизнесийн буюу арилжаа эрхлэгчдийн хоорондын өдөр тутмын харилцааг зохицуулдаг, тэдгээрийн онцлог шинжит тохируулан зохицуулах хэрэгцээ нь өөрөө арилжааны хэрэгцээ буюу арилжааны хууль гэж үзэж байна.
すなわち民法と商法とは一般法と特別法の関係に立っております。
Өөрөөр хэлбэл иргэний хэрэгцээ, арилжааны хэрэгцээ нь ерөнхий ба тусгай хуулийн харилцаанд оршин гэсэн үг.
そしてこの商法という法域を実質的に見ますと、そこには商法典のみならず会社法や商業登記法などの数多くの商事特別法があり、さらには商慣習法も存在しております。
За энэ хүн арилжааны хэрэгцээ гэдэгт өргөн утгаар нь авч үзэх юм бол зөвхөн арилжааны хууль тогтоомжийг хамааруулахгүй, арилжааны хуулиас гадна компани тухай хууль, арилжааны үйл ажиллагааны бүртгэлийн тухай хууль, улмаар бүр арилжааны заншлын хэм хэмжээний хэрэгцээг бүрт хамааруулж авч үзнэ.
それではこのような商法という法域の独自性はどこにあると言えるのでしょうか。
Өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол энэ арилжааны хэрэгцээ гэдгийг бусад хэрэгцээгээс ялгах онцлог шинж нь юу юм бэ? Яг хаана байгаа юм бэ гэдгийг асуулт болгон тавьж байна.
日本におきましてもこの点をめぐりこれまでいくつかの考え方が継承されてきましたが、現在の日本におけます通説的見解は商法を企業に関する法であると捉え、企業に特有の生活関係を対象とする司法、私法であるという点において民法と対比して独自性を有するものと考えられております。
За саяны тавьсан асуултын хүрээнд Японд бол эсрэг дэсрэг байр суурь бий нэгэн хэдэн гол үзлбэрийн буюу онлууд хөгжиж ирсэн. За гэхдээ энэ дундаас орчин үеийн хамгийн хүлээмжшүүлэгдсэн нийтлэг тайлбар буюу онлын хувьд бол арилжааны хэрэгцээ нь өөрөө бизнес буюу аж ахуйн нэгжийн харилцааг зохицуулсан, аж ахуйн нэгжийн онцлог шинжийг зохицуулах шинжтэй тусгайлсан өөрийн гэсэн онцлог хэрэгцээ юм а гэж авч үзэх тайлбар бол болчихж байна.
すなわち企業とは一定の計画に従い継続的意図を持って営利行為を実現する独立の経済単位のことですが、このような企業が近代以降飛躍的に発達してきたことから、そうした企業に着目し、それを対象として捉え、商法企業に関する法であると考えるようになってきたわけです。
Өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол арилжааны хэрэгцээ өөрөө аж ахуйн нэгжид тулгуурласан хэрэгцээ гэдэг энэ онлын үүднээс авч үзэх юм бол аж ахуйн нэгж яг юу хэлэх юм бэ гэдэг үүднээс нь авч үзвэл тодорхой төлөвлөгөөний үндсэн дээр байнгын үргэлжилсэн шинжтэй ашигын төлөө үйл ажиллагаа явуулдаг эдийн засгийн нэгж гэдэг утгаар нь аж ахуйн нэгжийг авч үзнэ. Энэ утгаараа арилжааны хэрэгцээ нь энэ аж ахуйн нэгж гэдэг ойлголтод суурилсан аж ахуйн нэгжийн онцлог харилцааг зохицуулдаг иргэний хэрэгцээс ялгаатай өөрийн гэсэн онцлог шинж бүхий бие даасан хэрэгцээ юм а гэж тайлбарлахад илүү хялбар болно.
このように日本におきましては企業というものに着目し、商法は企業に関する法であると考えられておりますが、企業の活動は普段に新しい領域を作り出しておりますことから、商法固有の領域というものは消滅することなく、民法と商法とは併存し続けると考えられております。
За улмаар арилжааны хэрэгцээ нь өөрөө аж ахуйн нэгжтэй суурилсан хэрэгцээ гэж үзэх юм бол аж ахуйн нэгжийн үйл ажиллагаа өдөр тутмын шинжтэй энэ харилцаа дэлхийд глобалчлагдаж өдөр тутамдаа хувьсан өөрчлөгдөж шинэ төрлийн харилцаануудыг бий болгож байна. Энэ үүднээсээ Япон улс дахь арилжааны хэрэгцээ гэдэг нь бол өөрөө шинэ тутам үүсэж байгаа харилцаануудыг зохицуулах бие даасан хэрэгцээний хувьд ямар нэгэн байдлаар иргэний хэрэгцээгээ уусан нэг асуудал байхгүйгээр өөрийн гэсэн онцлог шинжээ хадгалсан зохицуулах харилцаа бүхий бие даасан хэрэгцээ гэж үзэж байна.
そして商法が規律の対象としております企業の活動は日々絶えず変化し発展していきますことから、商法におきましては現実の変化に応じて進歩発展していくことが必要になってまいります。
Өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол арилжааны хэрэгцээ буюу аж ахуйн нэгжтэй суурилж байгаа аж ахуйн нэгжийн үйл ажиллагаа гэдэг бол өдөр тутамдаа хувьсан өөрчлөгдөж байгаа энэхүү өөрчлөлтийг дагаж арилжааны хэрэгцээ маань өөрөө хувьсан өөрчлөлтийг шинжтэй болж эхэлж байна.
また企業を対象とする商法は企業活動に伴う経済現象から生じる法則が基本的には人類に共通するものでありますことから、そこには多かれ少なかれ内容を同じくする世界的な傾向が見られ、国際的にも統一しやすいように思われます。
За улмаар арилжааны хэрэгцээ нь өөрөө аж ахуйн нэгжийн харилцааг зохицуулдаг хууль гэж үзэх юм бол энэ өдөр тутамдаа хувьсан өөрчлөгдөж байгаа эдийн засгийн харилцаа өөрөө нийтлэг хүн төрөлхтний үнэт зүйл буюу нийтлэг шинжтэй харилцаа юм а. Тиймээс арилжааны хэрэгцээ нь бусад эрх зүйтэй харьцуулахад илүү олон улсын түвшинд нэгтгэх боломжтой буюу ижлэгсэн хэм хэмжээг бий болгох боломжтой эрх зүй гэж үзэж байна.
このように企業というものに着目し、商法は企業に関する法であると考えていきますと、商法という法域の独自性を認めていかざるを得なくなるように思われます。
Эцэст нь үүний үр дүнд юу хэлж байгаа гэхээр арилжааны эрх зүй гэдэг нь аж ахуйн нэгжийн үйл ажиллагааг зориулсан бие даасан өөрийн онцлог шинжлэхүйн эрх зүй гэдгийг бид нар улмаар хүлээмжшүүлнэ. Ямар нэгэн байдлаар арилжааны эрх зүй үүсгэх гэдэг нь ийм боломжгүй гацаагүй байх ёстой эрх зүй юм а гэдгийг хүлээмжшүүлэх үндэслэл гэж юм а.
時間の関係から少しお話の内容を少しかいつまんでお話しさせていただき、まとめとさせていただきたいと思います。
За нэгэнт ингээд цаг дуусч байгаа учраас үлдсэн жоохон хугацаанд одоогийнхээ яриаг нийтлээд товч дүгнж хэлье.
このような独自性は民法と対比しますと、商法の内容上の特色としても現れてまいりまして、例えば営利主義、迅速主義、公示主義、外観主義、厳格責任主義、企業の維持などさまざまな形にて現れてまいります。
За өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол арилжааны эрх зүй нь иргэний эрх зүйгээс зарчмын хувьд томоохон ялгаатай аж ахуйн нэгжийн үйл ажиллагааг зохицуулдаг гэдэг утгаараа зарчмуудын хувьд томоохон ялгаатай гэж хэлж байна. Энэ нь өөрөө арилжааны эрх зүйн хэм хэмжээний агуулгыг маш тодорхой илэрчээдэг. Тодорхойлоод хэлэх юм бол арилжааны эрх зүйн дөөрөө арилжаа эрхлэгчдийн ашигын төлөв шинжийг хангах зарчим, за төргийн шуурхай байх зарчим, гэрээ эзэсийн найдвартай байх, баталгаатай байх зарчим, за ил тод байх зарчим, тодорхой илэрхийлэлд итгэсэн гадаад итгэлийг хамгаалах зарчим гэх мэтлэн маш олон төрлийн зарчмуудаараа иргэний эрх зүйгээс өөрийн гэсэн онцлог ялгах хэмжүүдийг агуулдаг юм а.
このように日本には商法典が存在しておりますけれども、モンゴル国におきましては当初にお話ししましたように民法典と商法典とが特に区別されずに、従来民法と商法とは同一の法典の中で規定されてまいりました。現在民法典とは別に新たな商法典が立法化されるという状況にございます。
За өөрөөр хэлэх юм бол саяны миний яриан нь Японы арилжааны эрх зүй болон иргэний эрх зүйн яг ялгамжтай нэг зарчмуудын шинжтэй зүйлсүүдийг товч тайлбарлалаа. Монгол улсын хувьд бол миний ярианы эхэндээ дурдчихсанчлан арилжааны эрх зүй бол иргэний эрх зүйг тусгайдан зохицуулахгүйгээр иргэний хууль гэсэн нэг кодексээр хамтдан зохицуулж ирсэн бол одоогийн Монгол улсын хувьд бол арилжааны иргэний эрх зүйгээс тусдаа арилжааны эрх зүйн хэмжээг бий болгох буюу арилжааны хууль тогтоомжийг боловсруулж батлах гэдэг энэ ажлууд хийгдэж байна.
以上、日本におけます商法典の地位や商法の所得徴について述べてまいりましたが、私としましてはこれまでもそのように提言をさせていただいてまいりましたが、商法という法域を民法という法域とは区別して捉え、できましたらそれを法典化し、投資家等の関係者の予測可能性を高めるということから、その立法解釈運用等に当たっていくことが有益なのではないかというように考えて、そのような提示をさせていただいてまいりました。
За миний Монгол улсад өгчээсэн зөвлөмжийн хувьд бол саяны ярьдаг Японы улсад иргэний эрх зүй арилжааны эрх зүй бол тус тустай арилжааны эрх зүй бол өөрийн гэсэн зохицуулах харилцаатай бие даасан онцлог бүхий эрх зүй юм а гэдгийг хүлээмжшүүлэх замаар Монгол улсад ч гэсэн ялгаахгүй иргэний эрх зүйгээс тусна арилжааны эрх зүйг хөгжүүлэх болмаар арилжааны хууль тогтоом бие даасан хууль тогтоомжтой болох гэдэг энэ саналуудыг төвшүүлж ирсэн юм а. Энэ нь бол цаашдаа Монгол улсад хөрөнгө оруулагчдын итгэлийг хамгаалах, хөрөнгө оруулагчдад илүү их ойлгомжтой доктортой ийм эрх зүйн тогтолцоог санал болгох давуу талуудтай гэж үзээд Монгол улсын хувьд энэхүү ажлууд бас эрчимтэй өрнөж байгаа гэдгийг их баяртай байна.
本日は貴重な機会をいただきまして大変ありがとうございました。本日のKYUDAI Nowを通じまして九州大学とモンゴルの皆様方との交流がさらに一層深まりますことを心から記念申し上げます。
За тэгээд анхаарал хандуулж сонсон та бүхэн маш их баярлалаа. Өнөөдрийн энэ KYUDAI Now форум гэдэг арга хэмжээгээр дамжуулаад Kyushu-гийн их сургууль болон Монгол улсын холбогдох эрдэмтэн судлаач холбогдох хүмүүс хоорондынхоо харилцааг улам бүр бэхжүүлж шин одоо олон амжилтуудыг бий болгоно гэдэг шин сэтгэлээсээ итгэлтэй байна. Та бүхэн баярлалаа.
どうもご清聴ありがとうございました。
Next, I would like to invite Professor Nakayama Jiro Sensei, please feel free to come up to the stage. Professor Nakayama Jiro would present about his work, The Landscape of Asian Microbiome, Linking Food and Health. Professor Nakayama Jiro is a full professor of microbial technology at the Faculty of Agriculture at Kyushu University. He earned his PhD from the University of Tokyo after graduating from its Faculty of Agriculture in 1987. His primary research interest is gut microbiota. He leads the Asian Microbiome Project, an international consortium of 20 institutions across 10 countries studying the gut microbiota of Asian populations. His collaboration with Mongolia University of Life Sciences has yielded important findings on the effects of arrack, a traditional fermented mare's milk, on the Mongolian gut microbiota. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yuan, for the kind introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. And a special greeting to the Mongolian audience. And my name is Jiro Nakayama from the Faculty of Agriculture at Kyushu University. So today I would like to introduce our ongoing project, so-called the Asian Microbiome Project, which aims to understand the structure and the function of the gut microbiota in relation to food and health. So, in the beginning of my talk, I would like to explain how the gut microbiota plays a role in human intestine. So, it consists of 100 trillion of microbial cells, representing roughly 1,000 species, and totally it weighs 1 kilogram. And if we look at the collective genomes of this microbial community, so they contain around 3 million genes, about 100 times more than the human genome. With this kind of complex ecosystem, so that gut microbiota plays a role as an interface between food and health. And if we look at the composition of these 3 million genes, so you can see here that a large proportion are involved in carbohydrate metabolism and vitamin synthesis. And so through these functions, various types of dietary fibers are degraded and subsequently metabolized into a wide range of functional metabolites. And thereafter, the metabolites are absorbed into bloodstream and transported throughout the body and are involved in the maintenance of systemic hemostasis from the head to toe. Okay. And to understand the gut microbiome as an interface between food and health, so Asian Federation of the Society for Lactic Acid Bacteria has initiated Asian Microbiome Project in 2009. And so far, 20 institutes from 10 countries have participated to this project. So this is initial data in the Asian Microbiome Project, showing two distinctive types of microbiota in Asian population. So one type is dominated by Bifidobacterium and Bacteroides, mainly observed in the East Asian country, and the other the other type was dominated by Plevotera, mainly observed in Southeast Asian countries. And when we examine the gene content of each microbiome type, we find that the Prevotera dominant type is enriched in plant polysaccharide degradation enzymes such as amylase and pectinase, whereas Bacteroides and Bifidobacterium in a dominant type is enriched in genes involved in bile acid metabolism. So these results suggest that the Prevotera type favors vegetable eater, while Bacteroides and Bifidobacterium type favors meat eaters. And if we look in more detail about gut microbiota, so we can find many features uniquely associated with countries. So this is a result of machine learning. So in this study, we input the bacteria composition data of gut microbiota of 5 Asian countries to the computer and asked the AI system to create a program to recognize the country of origin for each sample. As a result, the computer was able to recognize Japanese sample at 97% accuracy and Indonesian sample at 86% and Chinese sample at 80%. So, yeah, but in contrast, so the computer program could not clearly distinguish the Taiwanese microbiome, Taiwanese sample from Japanese and Chinese, and Thai microbiota from Chinese and Indonesian. So suggesting that the gut microbiota truly mirrors dietary habit of each population. And for example, we detected genes for seaweed degradation enzymes in Japanese microbiome, which probably reflects the unique Japanese diet rich in seaweed. And we also compare gene features in the metagenomic profile among Japan and Philippines and Indonesia, and found that the high amylase genes in Philippines and Indonesia, and high amylopectin degradation enzyme in Japanese. So likely reflecting the cultivar of rice consumed as staple food, such as Japonica rice in Japan and Indica rice consumed in Philippines and Indonesia. And we also found high abundance of urea cycle, representing high protein load in Japanese, and high abundance of glutamate synthesis in Indonesian and Philippine microbiome, representing low protein load. And we also found the high bile acid hydrolase in Japanese, which represent high fat diet in Japan. And on this occasion, I would like to present some data on Mongolian gut microbiota. As you know, the Mongolian has a unique dietary habit within Asia, and even within the country, it differs between summer and winter, which is suspected to influence the gut microbiota. And let's see the gut microbiome of Mongolian. So you can see here clearly that the gut microbiota Mongolian, colored by purple, so clustered in a Prevotera enterotype. And however, so this data seems to disagree with our previous finding that Prevotera type favors vegetable eaters. So your traditional Mongolian diet, which contains high amount of whole grain wheat in addition to meat, may drive this Prevotera type gut microbiota in your gut. And when we look in more detail at the genome content of Mongolian gut microbiota, so we found that genes involved in amino acid biosynthesis were lower in Mongolians compared to the other countries here. And this likely implies that the amino acid biosynthesis is less required in the gut microbial community of Mongolians who consume enough amount of proteins from meat and dairy products. And it is also interesting that when we focus on Mongolian microbiota living in Ulaanbaatar and suffering from type 2 diabetes, so about 50% of population gut microflora is shifted to bifidobacterium and Bacteroides type. This data suggests that the urban diet in Ulaanbaatar may drive the change in microbiota as well as lifestyle-related disease. And regarding the seasonal difference in gut microbiota, so we collected fecal samples from herdsmen in both seasons and conducted comparative analysis. And this graph shows the differences observed. So particularly the presence of lactic acid bacteria, which were uniquely observed in summer. And let's not forget IRAC, so fermented mare's milk. So it may be a source of lactic acid bacteria in Mongolian herdsmen who produce it in their gears and drink it and drink and several liters. Drink and several liters per day. So to demonstrate the transcolonization of lactic acid bacteria from IR to intestines of herdsmen, so we collected 4 pairs of samples of IRAC and feces from same gears, and DNA was extracted from these samples and subjected to shotgun metagenome sequencing. And as a result, we identified the exact same species of lactic acid bacteria and yeast in both the IRAC and feces. So we then performed a more detailed phylogenetic analysis based on the sequence data and found that the sequence of paired samples were very close to each other, indicating strain level transcolonization of lactic acid bacteria from IRAC to herdsman intestine. And as the last part of my talk on Mongolian gut microbiota, I would like to talk about Mongolian paradox, namely the low incidence of diabetes despite a very high rate of obesity, as shown in this slide. And we suspect that certain gut microbiota-derived factors may suppress the development of type 2 diabetes in Mongolian subjects. And to test this hypothesis, well, we compare the gut microbiota of obese subjects with diabetes and without diabetes. And as a result, although the bacterial composition didn't differ so much, the concentration of short-chain fatty acid in the feces were higher in the non-diabetic obese group. And we also found that genes involved in short-chain fatty acid biosynthesis were enriched in the non-diabetic obese group. And in more detail, we found that these pathways for acetogenesis were enriched in non-diabetic obese group. So notably, this pathway that bypass these two steps, so mainly encoded by lactic acid bacteria, was enriched in non-diabetic obese group. So in conclusion, the Mongolian paradox may result from elevated short-chain fatty acid production, especially acetate, maybe due to high colonization of lactic acid bacteria in Mongolia. And to conclude, I would like to share this very simple take-home message. So gut microbiota reflects diets and shapes health. And I really hope the good health of Asian people, especially Mongolian people. And I would like to, finally, I would like to acknowledge these collaborators. So I would like to express my special thanks to the student in Kyushu University. And I would thank the Professor Yuan Kandi, who lead the Asian Microbiome Project, and the group of Professor Endans in Gajah Mada University for their contribution to collect a lot of samples from Indonesian participants. And also, I would like to thank Dr. Leslie Dalmasio in University of Philippines. And I also like to express my sincere thanks to my esteemed Mongolian collaborators for their significant contribution to our project, the Professor Shirchin Dembel and Socioeconomic in Mongolian University of Life Sciences. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Nakayama. So we have a few minutes for question and answers. Please ask some questions. Okay. There's a question.
Hello, Professor Nakayama. Nice to meet you in Mongolia. And my name is Sarnishik. I am from Mongolian University of Science and Technology, School of Management. So our work is also related to the microbiome of Mongolian people. So I just wonder, in your research, you focused on the lactic acid bacteria from Iraq, but have you considered lactic acid bacteria from yogurt as well? And do you have some insight how this Iraq lactic acid bacteria and yogurt lactic acid bacteria can correlate with each other? Thank you.
I'm sorry, we don't have the data of the yogurt lactic acid bacteria. Yeah, but in the case of Iraq, the species of lactic acid bacteria is mostly Lactobacillus helveticus. That is quite unique bacteria, unique to Iraq. So because it is tolerant to the alcohol, because Iraq contains a certain percentage of the alcohol, so such kind of the severe environment, only Lactobacillus helveticus can survive in the environment of the Iraq. Yeah, but sorry, I don't have a yogurt, but maybe in the diabetes and obese project, we found some other lactic acid bacteria, yeah, especially enriched in the Mongolian people. So that is not Lactobacillus helveticus. So that maybe come from other dairy product in Mongolia. Yeah. But we don't have a direct answer at this time.
Is there any other question?
Any other question from anyone? Maybe it's okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, I appreciate for Professor Nakayama for your wonderful presentation. Okay, our next presentation would be by Assistant Professor Ulaanbaatar regarding his work on long COVID insights from population based on animal model studies. Dr. Batushin is an assistant professor in the Department of Psychosomatic Medicine at the Graduate School of Medicine, Kyushu University. His current research focuses on the mechanisms underlying stress-related disorders using mouse models to identify effective treatments for these debilitating diseases. In addition to active basic research, he participates in a multidisciplinary cohort team in Mongolia to study the epidemiology and clinical characteristics of brain-related disorders in the general population. Please on the stage.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Good afternoon. I'm Batushin. And first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to attend this KYUDAI Now Ulaanbaatar 2025 forum. It's such a great honor for me to be a part of this very important meeting. Thank you. I'm very interested in the mechanisms underlying stress-related disorders. So today, my talk will be kind of hotspot of many different data collected during my career. So first of all, I will talk about the definition of long COVID, and then the prevalence and clinical symptoms of long COVID in Mongolia. And then I'd like to introduce my current project on developing an animal model of long COVID. So this long COVID, so initially my interest was in the mechanism of long COVID, why those people suffer from those symptoms very similar to stress-related disorders. But by the WHO, World Health Organization, these symptoms must occur. So these symptoms must occur after the individuals recover from COVID-19. So there is no virus inside the body, but they keep complaining of those symptoms, especially brain fog or pain in different body areas, and also tiredness, muscle tiredness or mental fatigue and tiredness. So these are the definitions, and now we know that estimated by 2023, almost half trillion people worldwide might be suffering from this condition, and it will, of course, be associated with economic burden, nearly $1 trillion US dollar. So means we have to really study about this condition, and the prevalence is around 6% and 10%, or sometimes some researchers suggest it's just after the first or second wave of the COVID-19. So suggested 89%. Okay, so which symptoms are considered as long COVID symptoms? Then we have so many symptoms, more than 200 symptoms, and most common ones are tiredness or fatigue, and sleep problems, pain, and brain fog. Then those symptoms really look similar to the symptoms of patients suffer from myalgic encephalomyelitis, we call it ME, and chronic fatigue syndrome, CFS. So ME, CFS. So you can see in the middle of the figure, those fatigue, sleep disorders, cognitive problems, and myalgia. They also are the main symptoms of any CFS patients. So as you know, this kind of any CFS is not accepted by many physicians and doctors worldwide. But however, the problem is the studies or research on these debilitating conditions are not satisfactory up to now. So the risk factors of long COVID include so ethnic minority or socioeconomic deprivation, smoking, obesity, and interestingly younger age, and also female individuals have more prevalence, and physical or psychiatric comorbidities, so including anxiety and depressive disorders. So we know those, but the challenge is there is no accepted treatment for long COVID, as far as we know. And this is the reason why we have to study about the mechanism underlying this condition. So, for example, I just cited here some treatment models for long COVID, supported by one of my mentors, Professor Oka. So he suggested that we have to support the emotional, cognitive factors, consider those factors, behavioral, conditioning, associative factors, and social factors, and recommend many things. So these are not so unique, but kind of diffuse, as you see. That's why we wanted to study about the prevalence and symptoms of long COVID in Mongolia back in 2022. And as you know now, in clinical practice, there's no objective tests specific to long COVID. And there are so many diagnostic criteria. So we focused on the ME/CFS criteria because there's no even diagnostic criteria accepted worldwide for long COVID. And you can see here maybe, okay. So KYUDAI criteria is the most common one. So we, I will just skip this one. This is about COVID-19 incidence and prevalence. So we aim to determine the prevalence, risk factors, and clinical characteristics of the post-COVID-19 fatigue syndrome in Mongolia, because we have to use this term is called post-viral fatigue syndrome, PVFS. PVFS is a diagnosis in the ICD-10. So so that we can make this diagnosis, and those patients can take pay off from work or stay home for treatment. So we used the nationwide population-based randomized cross-section study. So you can see that Mongolia is divided in 4 different regions, and we picked up those IMAX close to the main transportation roads. And then we studied this way. The most important criteria was the patient must not be positive on COVID-19 tests. And then what we got was the prevalence of COVID-19 among the participants was 52, and long COVID, we had to consider the long COVID as it starts after 3 months of the first infection, and then 30% was the prevalence of long COVID. As for MACFS, it was quite very low, but this prevalence is very common worldwide. And PVFS was 5.3%. And the most common symptoms, subjective symptoms were fatigue, headache, arthralgia, sore throat, insomnia, myalgia, and cognitive complaints. So cognitive complaints were not so high as expected, you can see. And we found that anxiety was the main risk factor in the Mongolian general population. This is the results from my first, this is a population-based study. Then, next, what I did was in Japan, I wanted to continue to study about the mechanism of this condition, and found that there is no validated animal model of long COVID, because we know post-viral fatigue syndrome models, including, for example, LPS or poly-IC and corticosterone-induced models, but not for long COVID, because long COVID is must be associated with the COVID-19, and some labs have already started using a human angiotensin converting enzyme to transgenic mice, which are highly susceptible to SARS-CoV-2 virus, and also shows neurotropism. But in case of humans, we all know that coronavirus doesn't enter the blood-brain barrier. So that means none of them fully show the typical clinical symptoms of long COVID, and no signatures of specific cytokine storm pattern. Therefore, I just wanted to show here one of my studies I did at Kyushu University back then 12 years ago, and we found that we developed back then another PFS model in rats using a viral infection in E. coli and repeated social stress. And these are about mechanical albuminemia, and we have no time to describe. And in summary, I would like to say we found that the single viral infection induces fever, means inflammation, you know? But it's quite transient. Only takes about 5 hours. And then transient allodynia. Allodynia is a kind of sensitivity, sensitive to pain, sensitive to stimuli, which doesn't cause usually pain, but no depressive-like behavior. So it means like viral infections don't cause depressive-like behavior in rodents. And then 5-day repeated social defense stress itself cannot also cause such symptoms. But when we combine viral infection with repeated social defense stress, then it causes attenuated fever. So in humans, it's called low-grade fever. We know that most patients complaining of chronic stress or having stress-related disorders, they have low-grade fever. So, which means this model might be quite promising, and also showed persistent allodynia, which extends this allodynia for 1 month. This is a quite very long time, and also depressive-like behavior. So we wanted to use this model for developing an animal model of long COVID. We also used the recent findings on humans. So chemokines are already involved in the pathogenesis and also impairs neurogenesis, and also persistent loss of oligodendrocytes and myelinated axons in the brain of humans. And also we found that thalamic or basal ganglia nuclei are involved. So we hypothesized that viral infection after chronic psychosocial stress may cause long COVID-like symptoms and neuroinflammation in the brain. So here are the some schema how we formulated this hypothesis. So I'm sorry, it looks like very difficult to read. So I just want to say, so we did the same way and exposed the mice. This time we used mice because mice are very easy to later develop and further study another models or well-developed models. So we used this model, and then as results, we found that impaired motor function. So compared to controls, chronically stressed mice responded to viral mimic challenges, which is poly-IC, and showed impaired motor function, which means fatigue, and when we resemble to human nature. So, and also mechanical allodynia, persistent mechanical allodynia, and depressive-like behavior, and also attenuated response and pharmacological. So I would like to show, because I have limited time, these are the results we just got. Depressive-like behavior and mechanical allodynia, and also those mice showed impaired circadian locomotor activity and increased serum cytokine and chemokine levels, which are pro-inflammatory. And then after we found these pathologies, we wanted to see where exactly in the brain those changes are occurring. So we checked those areas associated with inflammation, stress, and emotional changes. Then we found that chronically stressed mice with specific microglial and neuronal activation patterns across the lateral habenula. Lateral habenula is an anti-reward center in the brain. Actually, we found many interesting data, but this one was the most prominent to show you here. So, in summary, we found that our mouse model might resemble quite well, and showing that chronic stress exacerbates viral infection-induced sickness responses and neuroinflammation in the brain in mice. Furthermore, this model extends the increase in systemic pro-inflammatory signatures, including IL-6 and CXLL10 mistypes here. Moreover, the activated neurons and microglia in the specific brain regions, including lateral habenula and circumventricular organs, suggest neuroinflammatory responses in the brain. So, we are now concluding that further studies are needed to elucidate the mechanisms underlying neuroinflammation in these regions and the subpopulations of those neurons involved. So this is the recent findings we found in our lab, and I would like to thank the lab members and professors who supported these projects. So in Mongolia, we established Brain Science Institute at the Mongolian National University of Medical Sciences. And this study on prevalence and clinical study was done by Ulaanbaatar, and also Professor Socioeconomic, and supported by Ulaanbaatar. And I also would like to thank the Kyushu University, one of my students, Liu Shangyu, who's now sitting here, and he will also maybe describe his recent findings in the psychological organs, and also support by Professor Suda Nobuyuki. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pratyusha. So we have a question and answer times. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you very much for your nice presentation. This is this post-COVID syndrome seems to be a very attractive topics. Many people may have some interest in this, diseases. But my question here is that I couldn't understand the difference between fatigue or headache or whatever, some symptoms, regular symptom versus post-COVID symptoms. So, how did you make a diagnosis? This is a post-COVID syndrome rather than just a regular, fatigue or a headache or something like that. So, how do you differentiate and how do you make a diagnosis? Yeah. So you may have explained, but I couldn't understand. So, yeah, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Shinazo. It's a critical question, and we also wanted to make sure that those participants in the general population we selected were infected or not first. And we had the national database. If somebody is infected, then in the national database we could see the person's name and date of the infection. So that was quite easy for us to follow up. So that's why after the first or second or third infection, how much time did it take to recover? Or is it not, it's not recovered? So that was time duration was quite very critical. So we considered long COVID after if somebody complains of those symptoms after 3 months. If after 6 months, then we put a diagnosis, the post-COVID-19 fatigue syndrome. And also, I would like to say, maybe the effect of viral infection, no matter it's coronavirus or influenza or rhinovirus or any viruses, the effect looks like very transient. So it don't extend the debilitating effects on the body or in the brain function. But the main problem, so after those findings, we think like maybe we are creating such a clinical diagnostic term, such as post-COVID sequela or long COVID or something. But behind those MECFS, for example, might be the chronic stress-induced pathologic changes in the brain, and maybe in the areas involved in reward and stress response, or somewhere in between. So that was our recent idea. Thank you very much.
Okay, so yeah, partially understood. But so you have not found or created any objective exam or objective proof for this disorder criteria. So just as you said, this patient had COVID before, and then 6 months later, still this continues. Then you make a diagnosis for this patient, the post COVID syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
So
not long COVID. Long COVID.
Oh, okay. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, just a symptomatic diagnosis, not the no objective or pathological proof to make a diagnosis.
Oh, to make a diagnosis, the participant might be really infected, yeah? At the moment of the study. So we check if the person we are studying has infection right there, right that moment. So we checked using rapid test. So the patient must be free of infection, coronavirus infection, but has a history of infection.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then just subjective symptoms. Okay. So like in the field of psychiatry, because we don't have objective tests.
Okay. We may discuss later.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Maybe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kyushu. So next I would like to invite Professor Hikita Naoko to the stage for her presentation on pregnant women's health in Mongolia. The Professor Hikita Naoko is a midwife and working in the Republic of Malawi for 2.5 years as a member of NOG. Okay, after returning to Japan, she went on the graduate school and she received her PhD from the University of Tokyo in March 2017. She traveled to Mongolia for the first time in 2013 to conduct a survey on the use of maternal and child health handbooks for her master's thesis. Since then, she was continued her research to improve maternal and child health in Mongolia, visited the country almost every year. And please on the stage for Naoko.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you all today. I'm Naoko Hikita from Faculty of Medical Sciences, Kyushu University. Today, I would like to talk about the research that I have conducted in Mongolia on pregnant women's health. Before I talk about my research, I would like to give a brief explanation of the Department of Health Sciences, Kyushu University. There are 3 fields in Department of Medical Sciences: nursing, medical quantum sciences, radiological sciences, and medical technology. The graduate school also has a midwifery course, and I teach midwifery and women's health. I am a midwife, and my specialty is midwifery, so I also conduct research on maternal and child health. I have been conducting research on pregnant women in Mongolia for over 10 years So today I would like to talk about my research in Mongolia, particularly the health of Mongolian pregnant women. I first came to Mongolia in January 2013. I conducted research in Burma province to investigate the utilization of the maternal and child health handbook. And as you know, January was the coldest season of the year, right? When I first came to Mongolia, the entire land was covered with snow and the sky was a dark gray. And my first impression of Mongolia was that it was a country without a color. See this picture? Please see the picture. The color, no color, maybe only the white and gray, something like that. In winter, temperature can drop below minus 40 degrees Celsius, so the building is very airtight and the rooms are warm, but at the same time, the ventilation is very poor. When I was having supper at the restaurant, as a customer smoked, and I was exposed to secondhand smoke. This experience prompted me to investigate the situation regarding secondhand smoke exposure among pregnant women. And in 2015, I started the research about secondhand smoke among pregnant women. As you already know, smoking causes various health problems for everyone. This slide shows the health effect of cigarette smoking. Smoking can cause cancer almost anywhere in the body. Also, smoking is a major cause of cardiovascular diseases, which is a major cause of death in Mongolia. Is this correct? So, what kind of health effect does secondhand smoke have on pregnant women? Exposure to secondhand smoke during pregnancy harms both mother and fetus, and it decreases infant birth weight and increases the risk of fetal congenital malformation, stillbirth, premature birth, static growth for gestational age, and preeclampsia. The first study of secondhand smoke was conducted in Dalhang province, targeting pregnant women in the early stages of pregnancy and their partners. I conducted questionnaire survey and spot urine sample were also collected to measure urinary creatinine levels to assess secondhand smoke status. This table shows the result of pregnant women's smoking status. Based on the result of several previous studies, I assessed people with urinary creatinine levels of less than 5 nanomilligram. Based on the result of the several previous study, I assessed the people with urinary creatinine levels of less than 5 nanogram per milliliter as not being exposed to secondhand smoke. Those with level between 5 and 100 nanogram per milliliter as being exposed to secondhand smoke, and those with level of 100 nanogram per milliliter or higher as being smokers. Of the 438 pregnant women who self-reported that they were non-smokers, 40% were assessed as being exposed to secondhand smoke with urinary creatinine level of 5 to 100 nanogram per milliliter and 7.8% were assessed as having smoked with urinary nicotine level of 100 nanogram per milliliter or higher. These results show that a large number of non-smokers are exposed to secondhand smoke, and approximately 8% of self-reported non-smokers were smokers. This table shows the result of an analysis of the characteristics of pregnant women who are at higher risk of secondhand smoke. Younger women are at greater risk from secondhand smoke than older women. Compared with women who have only completed lower secondary school, those who have completed upper secondary and university or higher have a lower risk of secondhand smoke. Pregnant women from home where smoking was permitted in certain areas had twice the odds of secondhand smoke exposure compared to women from homes where smoking was not permitted. Among pregnant women whose urinary nicotine levels were 5 to 100 nanogram per milliliter, 71.3% of partners had urinary nicotine level over 100 nanogram per milliliter. It was found that more than 70% of pregnant women who were exposed to secondhand smoke had partners who are smokers, suggesting that the majority of secondhand smoke among pregnant women is due to their partner smoking. Moreover, pregnant women's urinary nicotine concentration and their partner's urinary nicotine concentrations were significantly correlated. These results suggest that the smoking rate among men in Mongolia is very high, and as a result, pregnant women are unwillingly exposed to secondhand smoke. Children are important beings who carry the future of the country on their shoulders. I would like to help you to think of measures to prevent pregnant women and children from being exposed to the risk of secondhand smoke. These are the pictures that I found at the Som Hospital in Darhanur province. This picture shows the lung, I think, O-shape. Yeah. O-shape. This is healthy lung, and this is not healthy lung. Right? Next, I will introduce the research on weight gain during pregnancy. During pregnancy, it is natural to gain weight as the fetus grows, but excessive weight gain can have various adverse effects. For example, during pregnancy, the risk of pregnancy complications such as gestational hypertension and gestational diabetes increases. During labor, the risk of cesarean section and prolonged labor increases, and after giving birth, the risk of not retaining weight and becoming obese for the long term increases. As the current situation of pregnant women in Mongolia have not been reported, I investigated the relationship between gestational weight and the risk of cesarean section. This is the result of the survey. The analysis was conducted on 336 pregnant women in Darhanur province. Of these, 14.9% were delivered by cesarean section. The average of BMI at first antenatal visit, pre-parturient maternal weight, pre-parturient BMI, and gestational weight gain among women who had a cesarean section were higher than those of vaginal delivery. Furthermore, when risk factors for cesarean section delivery were analyzed by adjusting for variables such as characteristics, it was found that high weight at first antenatal care visit, high gestational weight gain, and older maternal age were a risk factor for cesarean section. This study was conducted between 2015 and 2016, so situation may be a little different now. I'm currently preparing to conduct a study to investigate the relationship between gestational weight gain and perinatal outcomes among pregnant women in Ulaanbaatar in order to find the optimal weight gain for Mongolian pregnant women. As a future research project, I would like to launch a birth cohort study covering from pregnancy to postpartum period to evaluate the health status of women such as nutrition, physical activity, and mental health during pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period. I hope to continue helping to support the health of pregnant women in Mongolia. If you are interested in conducting research with me, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hida. I would like to invite any questions if there is to Dr. Hida.
Thank you, Dr. Hida, for your great presentation. It's an honor to listen to your talk and remembering that we went to Mongolian field study together in 2013.
Yes.
And I'm sorry for the gray areas that I took you. So, yes, it's really interesting and exciting to know that you already published your research results and now you are working on next stage of your maternal health studies in Mongolian setting as well. So I was just wondering, after your secondhand smoking study in Darhan, did you introduce your studies to the authorities or the field study participants? What was the reaction? How did they perceive it? And maybe after your study, the Mongolian government issued this ban on indoor smoking. Was it after your study, before your study? What was the follow-up after this? Thank you.
Could you repeat the question part again a little bit? Yes.
So my question was, did you introduce your research results to the field in Darhan, either to authorities or research participants or the hospital that you conducted your research, and what was the reaction and what was the follow-up measures after that?
Thank you very much for that question, Amara-san. Yeah, actually, of course, I reported the results of my research to the hospital and Ulaanbaatar, Department of Health in Darhan province. Yes, their reaction is actually I don't know. They understand the results, but actually my research results didn't affect anything in the people in the hospital. I think maybe it's my fault because I should have the push was disseminate the result more and more. Maybe so that this is my
maybe going forward.
There is no question.
Thank you very much for introducing your findings. Very interesting. And just very short question. Have you maybe checked the mental health of the pregnant woman in Mongolia and compared to the other women's mental health across Asia or maybe with European pregnant women? Because now we have kind of validated anxiety and depression tests in Mongolian language, which might be also helpful. But maybe you already checked. I don't know.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question. Surely that I have not conduct the research. I didn't take any data of the depression among pregnant women. Actually, the next time I wanna take that kind of data because right now I cannot find any depression scale for the pregnant women, validated scale for the pregnant women, only postpartum women. So, but if someone knows that validated scale are there in Mongolia, please let me know.
Any other question?
Thank you so much. We still have a little more time. I have one question, if it is okay to ask. Sorry. So I was wondering if similar studies in some other country or region has been conducted. If you know, like similar study like maybe in another country, similar study like your study.
Secondhand smoke or
secondhand smoke, impact of secondhand smoking on pregnant women in another country is
yes, of course.
And
but actually, I don't want to say like this, but in kind of the developing country, actually using the nicotine, actually the measuring nicotine is a little bit difficult because even for me that I asked that American company to send me the yes and material actually it's a little bit difficult. So actually I think that it was a new study in such a
it would be also interesting to see how secondhand smoking impacts people in other countries as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for the very interesting presentation.
Policy that analyzes GPS trajectory data to assess whether e-mopeds improve accessibility equity in disadvantaged areas. Finally, in a satellite data initiative funded by JAXA, providing access to high-resolution imagery. If you are interested in of these topics, she would be delighted to connect. Okay.
Thank you very much. Right, today, the broad theme of my research is transportation infrastructure expansion and its result on socioeconomic and environmental outcomes. So today I'm going to talk about two researches. One is related to railway and the second one is related to bikes. Brief introduction of myself. My name is Sunbin Yu from Korea, and I came to Japan in 2017. And I have worked in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in South Korea for 2 years as a researcher, and then proceeded to PhD status. And then became an assistant professor in Kyushu University at 2020, and still on my track. Okay, so my field of research is transportation, urban planning and environmental economics, but mainly transportation and how their expansion shapes socioeconomic outcomes. Mostly I study high-speed rail using satellite images, processing, and I also study transport geography. I'm going to explain what it is later on. And also my small themes for subset of my research is autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars, and shared mobility, and so on. Today I'm going to introduce two main researchers on my topic. One, high-speed rail and carbon emissions, which is collaborated with University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And another one, shared mobility and equity problem, collaborated with Korea University. So I'm open for the collaborations of my research, so if you're interested, please let me know so that we can find a room for collaborations. Okay, so first research, railway expansion reduces carbon emissions. Actually, this research has been published already, so sorry for not updating the title yet. This research has been collaborated with Crawford Police School, Australian National University, and University of Illinois and Urbana-Champaign. So, brief introduction of this research. So, this research actually has a very, very simple question. Does railway expansion reduce carbon emissions? Basically, this is a really simple question, but not yet examined well. And why is that? Because actually, most of the researchers are looking into whether railway stations are reducing emissions, but not the railway expansion itself. So these are the previous works. So basically, it's half and half. Some of the people say the CO2 will decrease because people substitute from car to rail. Some of them assist that the CO2 will increase because people drive to the station when the station opens. And then some other researchers also say decreases or only marginal decreases. So basically, the previous works have mixed findings. So here is the thing. So most of the previous researchers looking into whether railway openings are reducing CO2 are doing DID, differences and differences. And they were mostly looking into the opening of the station, not the railway expansion itself, like the railway nodes. So basically the problem of the DID is it's very localized and not really suitable for countries with developed infrastructure. For example, in Japan, the railway station has been there for 100 years before. So the increase of a marginal railway station is very, the effect is very marginal. We cannot really estimate in a very simple way. So we measure the network effect. So how do we measure network effect here? We introduce a concept of market access here. What is market access? It's a potential of mobility, mobility potential. It's basically a mobility potential for long-term and indirect impacts. It is basically estimating the indirect effect of becoming possible, allowing for a broader impact and effect. For example, the basic concept of market access is the number of populations which can reach to the larger markets. So basically, for me, if there is a new train railway opening which connects me to Tokyo, then my market access will increase. This is how it's in a very simple way how this is calculated. So basically, we collect the number of populations and calculate the market access of the historical data in Japan for 60 years, but then due to the data problem with other dependent variables such as land price, we analyze it for 40 years or something, but still, yeah, this is actually very easy to calculate if you have population data. So this is how market access has evolved over time for 30 years in Japan. So the deeper color indicates more growth. And you can also see that in Tokyo, the most market access growth has happened, where in other cities like the northern side, like Hokkaido, is not really showing the higher trend. It's because one, travel time to larger market has not been improved, and two, the population has decreased. So this is how we calculate market access. And then we do the regression analysis using, we are using IVs and everything to do the causality, but in a very simple term, it's like this. So we use dependent variable as a carbon emissions, and then we put control variables and fixed effects, everything, and then we estimate how much of these carbon emissions has been reduced in 20 years of Japan. Sorry, it's 20, sorry. And it seems like thanks to the space station opening shows the increase of carbon emissions due to the increase of traffic around the stations. But then the connectivity of the railway expansion has caused 110 million tons of carbon emissions in transportation sector. And in the full paper, we discussed the mechanism, endogenous concerns, and we calculate the value of it, but still it's a big amount. It's around 2% of the Japanese CO2 emissions. So we are actually using the market access concept to other researchers as well. This is Tokyo Railway. I think some of you are very familiar. A lot of stations are there. So we calculate how much PM, particulate matter, air pollution is decreased by railway expansions for 25 years in Tokyo. It seems like 9% has been decreased. And actually, yes, most of the benefits are focused on central area, like right area. And then another thing we can do with this market access concept is that we can simulate the amount of potential air pollution reduction due to railway new openings using the GIS pattern. So we can simulate basically. So this is a Metro 7 and 8 liner, which is likely to be, planned to be introduced in Japan in next few, years or decades, but then still that introducing that railway will produce that amount of air pollution reductions, which is equivalent to 1 to 2% of total construction cost. This is actually big, and I have heard that Mongolian government is also planning to install some metro line. I don't know if it's subway or railway, but still, we can also calculate the air pollution reduction into economic term, and that will be also helping evaluating whether the project was successful or not. And this is a room for collaboration. I'm currently collecting the GIS data from China, Korea, and Taiwan, so that we can calculate the market access and measure whether they were successful or not. Currently, we are looking into CO2 and GDP in China, Taiwan, and Korea, and the results are all different. And I think it will be very interesting if you can also collaborate on this topic. If I'm trying to measure the impact of railway in Asian countries, it would be very nice if you can also include Mongolia as well. If you are interested, please let me know. And this is another research topic I just brought. This is also published. Sorry, I didn't update it yet. Yes, so I have seen many bikes in Mongolia, and I think this research will be more relevant when compared to railways. So basically, I'm looking into this kind of bike, and this is actually installed in our university. It's electric, and it's station-based. You have to return to the station. And I want to see whether this can make people who are using this comfortable or equal. Or like transport equity. What I mean by transport equity is whether transportation is for everyone, right? But then if people cannot use transportation, that's a problem, and that's the big idea of transportation equity. So this is a map of Fukuoka, and if you see the southern part of Fukuoka, there's no railway station, right? So given that, we thought that if this bike can help the people living in the southern part to approach to the station, that would be very great, right? So we wanted to see whether that's happening. And this is a distribution. And we find out that in low-end price areas, that bikes, what we call them mopeds, show longer travel distances and time while not showing more frequency. But then it shows shorter travel and faster time compared to public transportation, like buses, because they never come, right? And for low land price residents, there's no cost efficiency, probably because they travel longer, and the cost structure is basically on distances. And then this is the final result of the equity, and you can see the red dots are more, predicted number of trips to the city center, which is actually a good thing. And it's actually centered around the northern area, not in the southern area, right? So this means that there's room for bikes to improve the equity problem of Fukuoka. So we are actually working on how to put the ports and how to make people travel to city center, which has more jobs actually. So that's the main topic of this research. Here's the thing. So another room for collaboration of this data. This data has a lot of potential because we have GPS trajectory data, and this is like in the right side of the picture. You can see where people actually traveled. For example, where is this place? So we are interested in how to evaluate transportation equity in a very narrow way. We want to see whether people avoid congestion in the rush hours. That's our job. And I think in Mongolia also there are many bikes and they are trying to avoid congestions in the roads. And I think that this type of research can also provide many implications regarding Mongolian transportation sector. And also, if you are interested, you are welcome to join to our team. We have a team that specializes in GPS and also with many insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yu, for the very interesting work. I would like to invite questions to Dr. Yu regarding consultation. By the time you pick up. Okay, thank you.
Small question.
Yes.
Thank you for presentation. For the real one, the railway system one, does the type of railway matters? I mean, as a diesel or electricity train or diesel or like SL, like this kind of, because in this, I think 30 years history, maybe the system has changed. So does it make any sense?
That's actually a very good question. We also got that question from reviewers. The problem is we don't really, yes, that's going to directly affect the number of emissions, right? But then in this research, we don't really consider that because we calculate the population potential by the railway openings, right? So that's into it. But I think the emission amount of this result is mainly coming from the people transferring from car to substituting from car to railway. That's the result. And but going back to your question, whether we are looking into electric or diesel, I think it's diesel. Yeah, because we are collecting data from long time ago. We didn't really update it. But then in another research, we are looking into the carbon intensity. In that case, we should consider the fuel sources of the railways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the very important question. Any question to Dr. Yu? Anyone would like to ask? Oh.
A very short question. Thank you for the presentation. So, the railway system you analyzed might be electric powered railway system. In case of Mongolia, it's still maybe coal or diesel powered railway system. So, have you any data on such a system? Does it also reduce air pollution?
Thank you for the question. That's a very good question. First of all, I think again this emission is coming from the people who are substituting car from the railway side. So basically, the emission reduces from that. But aside from that, I think there will be an increase in emissions like backfires from the coal usage, and I'm not sure whether that's measured by transportation emission or energy emission. Still, that's another research topic we're looking into. But in case of Mongolia, because I heard that Ulaanbaatar is experiencing a large increase in populations, which means they need many trains, right? But in that case, maybe, and also, people have to come to the station by car, mostly by cars, right? In that case, I think emissions might not decrease. Yeah, because in Japan, even if we use this overestimated aspect, it's not that much, like, from our expectations. For Mongolian case, I think if we use coal and diesel, the emissions might increase. Yeah, and that the way to, the work that we should do is find a way to reduce it. Yeah, like electrification. I don't know. Those things. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We still have some time. Oh, fantastic.
Thank you for your interesting presentation. I have one question. Did you look for other types of emissions? And what, just CO2, or maybe you looked at other emissions?
Thank you for your question. For this paper, only transportation, but I have another project going on which looks into manufacture, construction, and retailing. And for that research, I found that manufacture emissions greatly decrease, and that's the reason why the emissions of manufacture decreases is because the seconds in factories they agglomerate around the station area. So basically, their efficiency increases with the GDP as well. So yeah, that's the thing. And we are also looking into energy intensity, which is measured by output divided by the energy usage, is also getting better. Because which means the productivity is also increasing in Japan. Yes.
Thank you very much for the amazing questions. I think there might be more, but we have to end her response to your questions now. And I would like to invite the next speaker. So our next speaker is Assistant Professor Honda Hiroyuki from Faculty of Engineering, Kyushu University. And he will be presenting on towards advanced civil infrastructure management, integrating AI, digital twins, and smart sensing. Dr. Honda Hiroyuki, sorry for that, Hiroyuki is an assistant professor. His field is civil and environmental engineering, integrating point clouds, geographical information, satellite data, and AI-driven digital twins. His research focuses on tunnel and slope monitoring, landslide risk management, and data-driven maintenance planning for advanced infrastructure management. Dr. Honda, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm Hiroyuki Honda from Faculty of Engineering, Kyushu University. As an introduction, today I'm speaking about the data twin and smart sensing for the civil infrastructure management. So before the main contents, 2 quick points, a brief self-introduction and why I'm presenting this work in Mongolia. So brief introduction. I completed my PhD in 2018, and after that I worked at the Hitachi Energy Business Unit and managing the EPC project. And after that, 2020, I've been back to the Kyushu University. And my research focus is civil engineering and mainly, especially rock mechanics and underground structure. Today I'll talk about the tunnel and also slope hazard mitigation. Using the remote sensing TLS, LiDAR, and SAR, this is a technology for the remote sensing. They can capture the point cloud, and SAR is a satellite technology. So using these results integrated to the 3D infrastructure management. And my mission is to making the infrastructure management safer and more efficient through the merge source sensing and 3D digital twin. And this photo, this is me also. And this young man is our former student from Mongolia. I'll mention that connection next slide. So I have a research and personal tie with Mongolia. In the early phase of this research, we work closely with the Mongolian colleague. And Yeah, one of them is Mr. Bartol Choise's from Mongolia in our laboratory. He completed the bachelor and master of the engineering. And we conduct frequent field survey, tonal and roadside slope to capture the TLS and insight data. In this photo, he's smiling. This is nighttime, maybe it's 3 a.m. or something. Maybe we have to scanning the whole tunnel in the midnight. And he's so energetic and great stamina and so strong muscle, so it helped us. This experience shaped our current approach, AI digital twin and smart sensing, and builds a trusted partnership. That brings me here today. So before I move on, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Choise's for contribution to our early research. He couldn't attend today due to the work commitment, but I want to express my sincere thanks. Okay, here shows today's roadmap. First, background, and after that, workflow and building block, and I will explain now the two cases, tonal digital twin of the tonal and the roadside slopes. And finally, summary. So first, our infrastructure is aging, while the budget and the staff are limited, like this. I focus on the tonal, my specialty. So Japan has many, but Mongolia has relatively few today. But I was speaking about the tonal. So Japan operates a large and aging network. For example, about 11,000 road tunnel, and totaling 5,000 kilometers, which is about 1.7 times Tokyo to Ulaanbaatar. So because this infrastructure lives for decades, so past survey, design, construction, and record are often hard to access. So they sit in the binder PDF and several systems, so we get hard to access. And with siloed data, we lack a single trust dataset. As a result, the decision are slow and there is more rework. Our desired state is a closed loop management cycle. To enable that, we need strong integration, a one-shaped picture that design, construction, inspection, and O&M all use. Historically, we work with paper and file handoff. So, but on the other hand, infrastructure with complex geometry. So shared 3D model is a single source of trust. Next, we integrate the time-aware data, inspection, TLS, insight, so the model becomes a leading digital twin. So one platform, we align, visualize, audit, and let the analysis trigger reports and work order. All of this leads to the simple goal, one shared picture and seamless flow, and which enable effective management and faster and safer decision. So next is the workflow. First, we build the shared 3D model. This one. And the second, data capture. And the TLS for the millimeter level 3D shape, and the insert for the wide area motion. And also inside sensor, like a GNS. We register all the data to the 3D model, and third, analytic and AI. We run the quality check and produce a forecast. After that result, update the digital twin. We can upgrade the we can visualize the state and run simulation. And finally, decisions. We prioritize and plan and act, then verify the risk and feedback. So from here, I explain now the case study. So first one is a tunnel digital twin. This is a highway tunnel in service about more than 30 years. The exact location is confidential, so I can say the location, but I will show the case. As I explained in the workflow slide, firstly we built a shared 3D model. We digitalize the legacy paper records across the life cycle. So using the absolute coordinate as a common key, we model anything with shape in the 3D and keep the other detail as attribute. For example, soil property, design, construction log, and the inspection notes. So then we register the recent inspection data, such as a point cloud or the tunnel line surface image, to the same coordinate frame. This slide shows the integrated result. So firstly, I will explain about the left figure. This figure explains the case of a pavement heap, KVPs. By bringing the data from the old phase, from the design, from investigation, design, construction, into the same single model, the pavement heap become clear at the glance. This is a point cloud data. This area is heaving is occurred, and this area can see some swelling layer under the tunnel. So it enables us to design effective countermeasure like this rock bolt. And right figure, this is an example on the tunnel slope. So the twin shows the estimated stride area. So here. And then the stabilization work in place and the GNSS point. So we can review the history and the current condition in our one view, and then judge the countermeasure is enough or not, and more smoothly and confidently. And this figure shows an example of point cloud. So these two photos is maybe similar but different. This figure shows a photo, and this photo is captures point cloud. Photo have RGB data, but point cloud have XYZ and intensity data. From using the point cloud data, we can analyze the deformation of the lining and the load, like this. And although we are creating the lining crack model like this, and we combine the 3D geological model. So previously we separate these two data, but we can now discuss and analyze their relationship. So we also explore the immersive view by bringing the digital twin model into the game engine and VR. So engineer can walk through in the tunnel virtually, and at any location they can access the stored information, inspection photo and the nodes and clearance trends and logbook falls, and see the defect overlay together with integrated data such as geology and design context. Sorry, the character is Japanese, but yeah, this is an example of VR. On the right side is an early AR prototype. This is I get from the website, so but this is not clear. So, but the goal is to enable the team to share the same 3D scene and annotate in real time and make faster and more effective decisions. And from here, I will explain about the digital twin for the roadside slope. So Japan's road runs through the mountain area, and the roadside slope often contains a large potential rock fall, rock like this photo. This rock is more than a human height. It's very dangerous. So because there are so many slopes with limited staff and budget, only limited slopes can be inspected each year. Yet, rockfall events still occur on sections that were not inspected. Our approach is to train and model on a past inspection record and integrate the output into a 3D model, 3D data scene. And also we use the backpack rider on the hill slopes. It's a new challenge. So it gives very detailed 3D shape. This is point cloud data. So we can see the rock, block size and shape and where trees are. So with this, we built a very detailed, we built a very detailed terrain and rockfall simulation for the earthquake and the heavy rains. We check how big the hazard is and if nets or board or fence work well. We also use and we also use satellite data to watch the slow movement over time, like this. And we combine this data, the twin makes a future risk map, so we know what to do first. This is two cases. So I want to summarize my presentation. Towards advanced civil infrastructure management, one shared picture, we use a shared 3D model as our single source of trust. So the impact is faster and the safety decision. From here we start now a small area, but maybe next step is a pilot project and also full-scale operation with our operator. So our research is moving forward quickly, so I hope to present more advanced results next time. And finally, in the last 2 days, I visited the site in Ulaanbaatar. So the city has a great potential for the infrastructure, civil infrastructure. So if you are interested in my research, so let's collaborate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Honda. We have a question and answers. Okay, now I would like to invite Associate Professor Ulaanbaatar Kenji on the stage to present his research challenges in time series recognition. Dr. Ulaanbaatar Kenji is an Associate Professor at the Department of Advanced Information Science in the Graduate School of Information Science and Electrical Engineering, Kyushu University, and an advisor for the graduate program of Interdisciplinary Policy Analysis and Design. He received as a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Engineering at the University of California, Irvine, USA, and PhD from the Graduate School of Information Science and Electrical Engineering at Kyushu University. His research interests include time series recognition, dynamic programming, artificial neural networks, document recognition, and natural language processing. So on the stage, please, Dr. Spa.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Okay, hi, my name is Brian Kenji Iwana,
and I'm an associate professor at Kyushu University in the Faculty of Information Science and Electrical Engineering. I was going to talk about the challenges of in-time series recognition, but I realized it'd be more interesting to talk about all pattern recognition and not just time series. Okay. So I'm part of the Human Interface Laboratory. In my laboratory, we mainly study many topics such as document recognition, bioinformatics, machine learning theory, and time series recognition. My presentation is going to be a little bit different from everybody else because, unlike the other speakers, in my work, we don't really have findings. Instead, we propose new methods. So I'm going to shoot many topics at you, and hopefully some of them stick. So before we get started, I would like to first introduce pattern recognition. So let's take an easy case. So in this case, we can show a human and a computer a picture of French fries, right? Now, if we show them another picture, both the computer and the human, they can identify that these are French fries. It's pretty easy, right? But we have a big problem, because if you show a computer a slightly different picture, it might not be able to recognize that these are also French fries. The problem is, as a human, we can imagine you taking the French fries and pouring it on a plate. But a computer, it doesn't see that. It sees this as a totally separate image. So why do we teach computers at all? The main reason why we teach computers is because computers are good at doing really repetitive tasks, and a lot of it. So for example, if we give 1,000 images for the human to identify, the human's not going to want to do it. But a computer will gladly identify every single image in the 1,000 images with no complaints. So this is why we use computers for pattern recognition. This diagram roughly shows how machine learning and pattern recognition is done. In the core of machine learning, basically, we have a bunch of data and we input it into the computer, and the computer will learn some kind of decision. In this case, the computer is learning how to separate cars from fish. So we give it many examples of cars and many examples of fish, and then it will by itself come up with its own separation between the two classes. And nowadays, almost all machine learning, the state-of-the-art machine learning algorithms are done using something called artificial neural networks. So this is an artificial network, and I'm going to give some very brief introduction of how it works. So in an artificial neural network, we have layers of these things called nodes. And each of these, this is a node. And each node is a very simple operation. But when combined together, they can do really amazing things. And actually, this is not so much different from how a human has neurons in their brain. So on this side, we have a biological neuron. And similar to a biological neuron, we have a bunch of inputs, and the inputs are combined together to produce some output. And then many of these neurons are strung together, and we can produce a brain-like structure. And in recent times, neural networks can do some really amazing things. So for example, I'm sure all of you have used ChatGPT. And maybe some of you are amazed how powerful ChatGPT is. Or maybe some image generation, or classification, or you've seen self-driving cars. At the heart of every single one of these methods is a neural network. So neural networks nowadays are everywhere, and they're what drive a lot of research in machine learning. But there's a lot of problems with neural networks and machine learning. So so the biggest problem is on this side, we have machine learning algorithms. And on this side, we have people who want to use the machine learning algorithms. But there's this huge gap between them. And while neural networks can do some amazing things, they're not useful unless people can use them, right? So my research is filling the gap in connecting the machine learning theory to the real applications. And these are some common challenges with machine learning. I'm going to go through each one briefly in the next following slides, but roughly there's problems with data, computation problems, interpretability problems, security problems, and domain-specific problems. So the first one is computation problems. So this is I hope you guys can see it, I mean, I'm on the way. But this graph is a graph of accuracy versus number of parameters. So you can see that the size of the network increases the accuracy. And actually this is a huge problem because modern networks like ChatGPT is 175 billion parameters. This is big, this is way bigger than any computer we have at, well, actually it's not bigger than we have at Kyushu University, but it's big. And for a normal person, a non-computer scientist person, they'll have trouble, they can't run the models because they don't have systems that are strong enough. The next one is interpretability. So it's always commonly said that neural networks are black boxes. That means that we give it the data and input and it produces some output, but we don't exactly know how it's coming up with the decision. And for some fields like health or safety or stuff like that, they need to know, the stakeholders need to know how the decision is made, not just the accuracy. So some people can't trust the results. And the next is security problems. So actually, maybe this is not so common, but neural networks are actually very weak to something called adversarial attacks or attacks. Basically, the idea is that we can attack a neural network to cause it to do things we don't want it to do. So for example, in this picture of a panda here, right? If we take this picture of a panda, we can classify it as a panda using a neural network, but if we add a special certain little bit of noise in a certain way, we can make it so the neural network misclassifies it as like a monkey, right? But to us humans, we can see this, and this is clearly a panda. But the computer will see this and say it's a monkey, just because we added a little bit of noise. So this is another big problem. Another problem is domain-specific problems. So there's so many types of data out there, and like personally, I work with all three of these types of data. So like images and 3D point clouds, like Hana-sensei, and time series. But each one comes with their own specific problems and issues. So so there's a lot of challenges in machine learning to use methods that can handle the specific type of data you have. And finally, this is the biggest problem, I think. This is the biggest reason why people don't use machine learning very often. Like scientists sometimes, they might use simple methods and don't use neural networks. And it's because it requires lots of data. So machine learning is really powerful, but it needs lots of data. And the really big problem is that you don't just need data, you need annotated data. You need data with like labels and descriptions and stuff like that. So scientists doing it might, they might not have the time and effort and the ability to collect this data. Yeah. So now I'm going to show some of the issues or some of the ways that me and my lab we conquer these problems. And I'm going to go through a bunch of different works that in showing you examples of how we do it. So before I get to the first one, I want to introduce this method, this problem. So this is called whole slide image cancer detection. The basic idea is that we have like the cancer researchers or doctors, they have slices of tissue, and it looks like this. But these are really huge images. So like this small little region right here maps to something like this. And through this, the doctor needs to classify which areas of this diagram is what kind of cancer, right? So each color is a different type of cancer. But the big problem with this is that even labeling just one slide is a ton of effort for a doctor, right? It will take hours just to do one slide. But for a machine learning method to be able to do it with a machine learning, you need many examples, you need many slides. And this is not feasible for a normal scenario. Yeah, so now I'm going to cover some common ways people solve this kind of problem. And the first one is the idea of something called semi-supervised learning. In semi-supervised learning, the idea is we can combine labeled data, so this is like a few labeled samples with some unlabeled data. And the idea is the doctor only has to classify a few samples, and then we can use just unclassified data and combine it together. And this is how it works. So first we train the machine learning model with a little bit of labeled data that we have. and then we evaluate it. We evaluate the unlabeled data with the same machine learning model, and it creates something called pseudo labels. These pseudo labels are like fake labels that we have just from our model. And then we add the pseudo labels back to the label data, and then we can train the network using a large amount of data. But there's a big problem with this. And the problem is, can we trust the pseudo labels, right? How do we know these pseudo labels are reliable or not? We don't know. So before I get to the solution, or our solution, I'll introduce another idea. So, like I said, it'll take hours for a doctor to segment this image, but it takes them a very short amount of time to just guess some kind of ratio. So this is 55% blue and 20% green and stuff like that. So this is called weakly supervised learning, where we're using imperfect labels. So in our work, we combine both ideas, the weakly supervised learning and semi-supervised learning. So the idea is that first we have this whole slide image with the ratios, and we're able to pick which pseudo labels are good and which pseudo labels are bad, because we're trying to match a certain ratio of labels. Okay, I hope I didn't lose you guys. Okay, anyway, so I'll move on to another topic. So a sudden change. So another solution to the data problem is something called transfer learning. So in transfer learning, the idea is that we can transfer knowledge from one network to another network. So in this case, without transfer learning, we train a neural network with a small amount of data, and maybe we get some accuracy. But it's possible that we can train the same model on a large amount of data, unrelated data, like totally unrelated, and then fine-tune it on the small data. And hopefully we'll get a better accuracy, right? But just like everything, there's problems. How do we pick the best data set to transfer from? With the millions of data sets out there, we could use transfer learning with any data set. And not every data set is equal. Some data sets might get like 89% and some might get 95%. And you can't reasonably test. So to help transferability, we use something called, we use discriminative shapelets. So the general idea is that each of these is a time series. And in a time series, there's this little shapelet, a little piece of the time series that's important for the class. Right? So for example, this is common to class B, while the top one doesn't have it. So our idea is that we can extract these shapelets, these discriminative shapelets from data sets, and then compare them to the small data set. And the idea is that if they're similar, then the transfer learning will be more effective. Yeah, so we in our paper we showed that we can sift through like 120 data sets, and we can quickly find which data set is the best data set to use with machine learning or with transfer learning. Okay, another topic related to data is data augmentation. So if we can't transfer learning and we can't use semi-supervised learning, how about making data, right? Maybe we can make data out of other data that we have. So for example, the most common data augmentation is to take like an image and then to use random transformations, like change the color or the rotation and stuff, or the size and stuff like that. But there's a big problem with data augmentation. And the problem is that it's based on randomness. So we hope that these are realistic. Like I've never seen a grayscale cat, but we still do it anyway. So we hope that it's good, but it's maybe not always good, right? So I work maybe with time series, so the same problem happens. In data augmentation, sometimes like ECG, noise, when you add noise, it's totally normal and totally okay, and it's good. But some things like handwriting or a smooth line, adding noise is not appropriate. So in our paper, we propose taking two different existing time series and warping them to create a third one. Yeah. And so, but in this work, we take it another step further, and we don't just pick random time series. we pick the best time series to match to generate new ones. And also in a recent research I've been working on, so we want to generate data based on words. So for example, if you say the time series is overall flat and has 3 significant peaks, then we want to generate a time series that's flat with 3 peaks, right? And we've had good results with this. Okay. So, yeah, because my research is filling the gap between machine learning theory and real applications, I have many collaborations and I'm always looking for new collaborations. So if you have data, I welcome collaboration because I want to take your data and tackle it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ulaanbaatar. Definitely making machines work and think and act like human will take a lot more human effort from now on as well. I would like to invite questions to Dr. Ivana from the floor, if there is any question.
Ah, 質問、日本語でよろしいでしょうか。英語のと。
英語お願いします。
お願いします。すみません。質問は、私も今一応なんか AI 系の会社で働いておりまして、でなんか、先生にはなんかそのなんか機械学習の将来のなんか進行とどう考えておりますか。で、あとなんか最初はなんか AI がなんか非常に進んでおりまして、そのなんか AI のその発達がそのなんか研究が大学の研究作りにどんな影響を与えているか、なんか研究のテーマとかなんか変わったりしてますか。なんか悪い意味でも良い意味でもどうやって影響してますかみたいな。はい。
So you want me to translate?
Yeah.
So may I know your name? Sorry. Okay, it's okay. He's also a researcher of machine learning and AI, and he wants to ask 2 questions. He has 2 inquiries to you, 2 questions to you. One is, how do you think the future of AI and its application in technology is going to happen? And the second one is, because there is very drastic changes these days, like so many innovations are happening with use of AI and machine learning. Does it really impact the type of research you do at your laboratory? Like how to keep pace up with the industry? It's quite long questions. Yeah.
So the future. So right now, like LLMs and like ChatGPT is so popular. So I go to many conferences, and in all the conferences, like before LLMs were very like 1 or 2. Now they're like massive, like 20-30% of the conference. So I think unless something changes, that's going to be the current direction. And yeah, not anyway. So the question is, how do you keep up? I don't know.
Does it impact? Impact your research?
Yeah, well, okay, actually, I can tie it back. So one big thing is like the use of LLMs, right? And it's difficult for a normal researcher to improve an LLM. Like it's almost impossible because you need to have Google-sized servers, but we don't have Google-sized servers. So, but that doesn't mean we can't solve problems. So there's many problems that it can't do, and like the domain-specific problems, especially, and by tackling these other problems, and especially with small amounts of data and small, like with working with real researchers, then we can still contribute to machine learning, tackling these other problems that are not the general language ones.
Thank you so much. Any other question to Dr. Ivana? Yeah, I also meanwhile, if someone thinks of a question, can I ask one? So I also want to know a little bit more about where the application of AI is going to go and how it might contribute to policy making.
So now that we have AI, I think it's impossible to go backwards. So it's just going to become more and more part of our life. It already is. Like your phone does more AI than you could. Like 5 years ago, I wouldn't imagine how much AI it would be in your phone. But now like you can do like remove people from pictures and use voice commands and do everything. So it's just going to get more and more and more involved in our lives, and it's just going to become normal. It's just like maybe self-driving cars and everything. Yeah. Like I can't, now that I use ChatGPT, I don't think it'd be difficult to go back like 5 years ago and not have it. It's stuff like that. Like things that were amazing 5 years ago are here already, and in 5 years it's going to be even more crazy.
Thank you so much. Any question? We still have a little time. If any question to Professor Ivana, we would like to take it. If not, thank you so much for the very interesting presentation. Yes, may we give a big round of applause to all our presenters in session 2. Let's give a big clap to them. And with those, we are actually end of our session 2. I would like to thank you everyone for patiently listening, having your interest, and also the presenters preparing the beautiful presentations, and we call for collaboration in future. With this, we are actually coming to the end of this seminar today. So in our closing session, first I would like to invite Dr. Sarangel Batbayar, the representative of alumni of Kyushu University in Mongolia, and a senior lecturer at the School of Law, National University of Mongolia, to share his closing remarks. Would you like to use your computer? No. Okay, thank you so much. Please, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Wapper. I want to speak in Japanese and Mongolian. 先日の多分ダルンテルや私はまずは日本語で話して、後で自分で追加いたします。ご来賓の皆様、こんにちは。九州大学モンゴル同窓会を代表しております、バトワイロと申します。まずはじめに本日フォーラムにご参加くださり、興味深く現代的な研究成果をご発表いただきました九州大学の先生方に心から厚く感謝を申し上げます。短い期間ではありましたが、皆様は私たちの美しい祖国モンゴルにお越しくださったことに改めて感謝の意を表します。そしてこの滞在が快適で有意義なものとなったことを願っております。また本日平日のご多忙中にもかかわらず、KYUDAI難民のウランバータルフォーラムにご参加いただいた皆様方にも厚く御礼を申し上げます。このようなフォーラムで九州大学モンゴル同窓会を代表して、ご挨拶をいただき、私にとって大変光栄なことでございます。同時に、このフォーラムを開催してくださった九州大学、アジア・オセアニア研究教育機構の皆様、先生方並びに関係者の皆様に心からご感謝を申し上げたいと思います。KYUDAIナーウィンモンゴリアは昨年ウランバートルにおいて初めて開催され、本年もKYUDAIナーウィンウランバートルとして再び最大に開催されたと思います。そしてモンゴル同窓会としてこのような活動を支援し、共に参加できていることを大変嬉しく思います。私たちモンゴル同窓会は会員の力を集結し、モンゴル国内の大学関係の機関と、九州大学との協力関係を深める、架け橋にとなるべく活動しております。今後はさらに九州大学と緊密な協力を強化し、より多くの実りのある成果を生み出せることを確信しております。同窓会としても活動の定着化、新旧卒業生のネットワーク拡大などを進めていく必要があると考えております。 最後になりますが、本日の討論にご参加いただいた皆様が、九州大学について有益な情報を得られ、今後さまざまな分野での協力の可能性を見出していただけることを心より願っております。この後、九州大学の主催のレセプションが予定されております。どうぞ和やかな雰囲気の中で交流を含め、充実したひとときをお過ごしください。ご清聴どうもありがとうございました。今後とも変わらぬご支援賜るようお願い申し上げます。자또 Kyushu 수고된 몽골 수시다보니 기타토에나 자 유니움 인프라 군진 어스라 소토스 스위치 스누프터 부고 추인 소플란 유통가 텐스스 Kyushu 수고된 이tum профессор таапын 군타토가 идэхийя. За таапын хийдгээр богино хугацаанд манай сайхан оронд үзэсгэлэнт хөрөнгөний хүрэлцээсэнд гүн талхал идэхийж байна. Таапын манай бас байх цаг хугацаа бас аюултай сайхан өнгөрүүлсэн гэдэгт байна. За өнөөдөр энэхүү ажлын өдөр буюу завгүй байсан ч тус форумын арга хэмжээнд оролцсон бүх хүмүүст талархал төвшүүлье. За өнөөдөр энэхүү форумд Kyushu их сургуулийн Монголын төгсөгчдийн холбоо төлөөлөн өг их завшаан олсон төлөвийн миний хувьд нэгтгэрийн хэрэгдэж үзэж байна. Энэ үйл ажиллагааг зохион байгуулсан Kyushu их сургуулийн Аз Номхон талаас судалгааны бүрэлдэхүүний хамт олон болон холбогдох бусад бүх хүмүүс чин сэтгэлийн талархлыг илэрхийлж байна. За KYUDAI Mongolia арга хэмжээнд өнгөрсөн жил анхудаа Ulaanbaatar хотод амжилттай зохион байгуулсан бол өнөө жил дахин KYUDAI Ulaanbaatar нэгтэйгээр амжилттай зохион байгуулах гэж Kyushu их сургуулийн Монгол дахь төгсөгчдийн холбоо тус арга хэмжээг дэмжиж оролцож байгаадаа туйлын талархуулжтай байна. Манай Монгол дахь төгсөгчдийн холбооны хувьд өөрсдийн гишүүдийн нөөц болцоогоо дайчлан ажиллаж Монгол улсын ихтэй сургууль болон Kyushu их сургууль холбогдох бус байгууллагын хамтын ажиллагааны бүр болон ажлын төлөө хичээл чармайлтаа гэж байна. Гэвч бидний хувьд цааш Kyushu их сургуультай илүү нэг хамтран ажиллах илүү олон үр бүтээлтэй зүйлсийг хийнэ гэдэг итгэлтэй байгаад дурдаад төгсөгчдийн холбооны хувьд ч гэсэн үйл ажиллагаа тогтмолжуулах, за шинээр болон тус сургуулийг төгссөн нийт төгсөгчдөд хүрээгээ дэлгэцээгээр ажиллах шаардлагатай байгааг онцлон хэлье. За эцэст нь өнөөдрийн форумд оролцсон бүх хүмүүс болон Kyushu их сургуулийн талаар сонирхсан мэдээлэл авч цаашид олон сургууль хамтран ажиллах боломжийг бас энэхүү форумоос олж авахсаа гэдгийг чин сэтгэлээс хүсэж байна. За тус форумын арга хэмжээний дараа Kyushu их сургуулиас зохион байгуулах оройн хүлээн авалт бөгөөд та бүхэн тус хүлээн авалтанд оролцож олон зүйлийг ярилцаж цагийг аюултай өнгөрүүлэхийг хүсье. Ингээд анхаарал хандуулсан та бүхэнд баярлалаа. Цаашид бас хамтран ажиллаж дэмжин ажиллахыг та бүхнээс чин сэтгэлээс хүсэж байна. Баярлалаа.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pakwai. Finally, to close this symposium, we would like to invite Professor Shimizu Shuji, Vice President of Kyushu University, to the stage to deliver closing remarks, please. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of you joining here today. Actually, we are a little bit anxious how many people will joining this forum today, because this is the second time. Usually the first time, many people are curious, what the KYUDAI now is, so shall we go? But the second time, we are not sure, how many people come back or how many people join us, for the first time. So anyway, we are kind of relieved and happy to have many people here in this venue. So one question here is, could you raise your hands who came here for the first time? I mean, they're not last year, but this year for the first time. Okay. So yeah, put down, and then the opposite. So raise your hand who came here last time as well. I mean, the last year as well. Oh, I see. Thank you. Okay. So many new participants. Okay. So anyway, I don't know. It's a good thing or bad thing, but anyway, yeah, I got it. And actually, I myself enjoyed this meeting very much. One is because I had lots of good presentation, and that I myself learned a lot about many researches being done in Kyushu University. And also, especially during the coffee breaks, it was quite fun, great fun to speak to the new people, to talk with some people, especially to the people who meet for the first time today. I really enjoy meeting many people. Yes. So, and also, I'd like to thank all the speakers here, of course, and then I'd like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to my own staff, Kyushu University Asian Oceania, and so also the two MCs for the nice, proceeding this forum. So the last thing, one thing I'd like to ask you is that after this symposium, our staff will send you the questionnaires. So please respond and reply to it. And if you enjoyed it, or we expect, and we are more happier if we get kind of blames. Not happy, but these things are not good. We need some revision, or next time we have these kind of things. So, for example, if you can think of some topics you are interested in and would like to have next time, that would be a great help. And also, if you can find some speakers in mind, for example, you could write these kind of potential speakers as well. And any recommendations about the future collaborations or anything you have in mind you felt today, please write it down and send back to us. Yes. And because there are not so much time for us to communicate to each other except the coffee time, so let us have more time over dinner to enjoy more communications and deepen our friendship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Shimizu. So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes of Symposium, part of KYUDAI Lab in Mongolia 2025. And thank you all for enjoying this afternoon with us together. It's really exciting to enjoy this afternoon with all of you together.
We have arranged a dinner reception so that we can have more relaxing and little more casual time and get to know about each other more. The dinner will be served from 6:30 at the latter part of the room. So please have your patience. We have ordered delicious food and drinks. So let's have a good time while having dinner and get to know each other more. And we would like to thank again for having your patience and being with us. And with that, we'd like to close the seminar today.
Bye.
One more time.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. I'm learning that.
Yeah.
Say no.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.